Getting into the music industry, especially getting to the top, is not easy. It takes a lot of time, hard work, talent, and maybe a bit of luck. Every artist in this video was there at one point, but somehow they just managed to destroy it all. And not for a good reason. Starting off, Young Thug. As you all know, Thugger was arrested back in 2022 and was given 3 years in prison and 15 years of probation, escaping what could possibly have been a life sentence. When he was released from prison, his fans expected a smash hit to be released alongside him. But Thugger decided to go another route. Ever since he got out, Thugger has been going hard at snitches and making sure they know that he's watching. He's been calling out artists like Gunna and Cudi, calling them rats. But things got interesting pretty fast. An audio recording of him started circulating online, suggesting that he had offered to be an informant.
Yes, sir.
Promises. Make promises. Just we'll keep promises. Whatever you anytime you ever make you want to know anything, tell me. I'll tell you anything. What you tell the world.
What you got?
Yes, you can.
Hey.
Another one leaked claiming that Travis Scott got 11 murders on his hand during the 2021 Astroworld Fest.
This nigga mama died. I'm dealing with real life shit. Travis done got goddamn 11 murders on his hand. Nigga, you know, get your mustache back, huh?
And also another one revealing that Thug had tried to disrupt the rollout of Gunna's album One of One.
Bro, I'm trying to drop an album the same day Gunna drop, bro. You need to, y'all sent you a song, put a verse on it.
That nigga ain't send me no song. I ain't see no song. When he pulled the drop, man, that nigga ain't send the drop. He dropped Friday for sure.
For someone who's been calling people rats left and right, these leaked audio files did not look so good. Once his true nature was revealed to the internet, no one treated Thugger the same. Aside from all of that, some fans were still hoping that he'll at least release a banger, but his Oi Scotty album didn't live up to the hype. The album did debut at number 6, but lost that spot by week 2. Even the cover art wasn't appealing to the fans. So it's safe to say that this whole era has been a flop, and based on everything that's been going on with him, at this stage it would be a true miracle if Thugger managed to turn things around. Another artist who had one of the worst career suicides ever is this rapper. You may not know him, partly because he absolutely self-destructed his entire career for a very stupid reason. B.o.B. Now, you may not have heard his name before, but he was supposedly considered to be one of the biggest rappers in the 2010s. Adventures of Bobby Ray was at one point at the top of Billboard 100, and his single Airplanes was a big song. Also, Nothing on You was a track that made Bruno Mars famous. And then, as it happens with every artist, by mid-2010s, he was in a slight downtrend, a flop era. But instead of locking in and trying to get back on top, he got involved with some crazy stuff. And I'm serious when I say crazy. He genuinely started believing that the earth is flat, tweeted about it, and made it his mission to convince everybody that that's true. And when I say made it his mission, I'm not kidding. He was so dedicated to proving this that he decided to raise $1 million to launch a satellite and prove that the earth is flat. Now, of course, he couldn't raise that money because who in their right mind would contribute to that? But it got so serious to the point that this famous scientist that you keep seeing on YouTube had to react.
All right, listen, B.o.B, once and for all. The earth looks flat because 1, you're not far enough away at your size. 2, your size isn't large enough relative to Earth to notice any curvature at all. It's a fundamental fact of calculus and non-Euclidean geometry. So that's right, B.o.B. When you stand on the shoulders of those who came before, you might just see far enough to realize the Earth isn't flat. And by the way, this is called gravity.
Of course, B.o.B didn't accept it because he was so convinced that the earth is 100% flat. So, and you may not believe this, he made a diss track taking shots at Neil. And wait, because it gets even crazier. In the diss track, he revealed that not only is he a flat earther, but he's also anti-Semitic. The diss track was called Flatline, and these are the lyrics. David Irving is one of the most famous Holocaust deniers, by the way. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson had a rapper nephew, so he obviously went ahead and recorded a diss back, which was at least better than Flatline. And at this point, people had already started taking B.o.B less seriously. He had lost his fans and he was way past his downfall. However, he couldn't let go, so he released a full album called Elements. And guess what the main theme of that album was? More conspiracy theories and flat earth claims. So you could say he had completely lost his mind, or in other words, his career had flatlined. Now, he's not the only artist who lost it all because of something they said or believed in. It also happened when Lee Ryan from the band Blue said, and this is a direct quote, "Who gives a f about New York when elephants are being killed? They're ignoring animals that are more important. Animals need saving and that's more important. This New York thing is being blown out of proportion." Okay, so you might be wondering what's so bad about that and why would his career be destroyed after saying this? Here's why. This New York thing that he's talking about was actually the 9/11. He said animals were more important and people should be talking about elephants and whales instead of the 9/11, and that's basically how Lee Ryan and his entire band got destroyed. The next artist who was once big but is now in his flop era is the Kid Laroi. Juice WRLD introduced this guy to the world, and soon enough his debut mixtape, F**k Love, peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200. People really enjoyed that project. And then his track Stay with Justin Bieber got to #1 and stayed there for 6 weeks. He was moving in the right direction, getting better and better at his craft. But then as he was moving forward, love was no longer what he believed in. In fact, he fell in love and then he had to go through a breakup.
How soon after all that do you go back into the studio? Do you wait a beat?
All
or
I
is it
wanted to
instant?
do after my breakup was just work, to be honest.
He made an album about his breakup and it performed quite well. Not like his prime, but not bad either. And then he fell in love again, this time with Tate McRae, and this time it felt much more serious. But as you can probably imagine, he had to go through another breakup, and that means he made another album about it. He had been truly hurt this time, but this time Tate responded with a song that felt like a diss track, and it went to #3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, although some true Laroi fans loved his breakup albums, the overall consensus was that he basically didn't have much to say, and it felt like listening to a breakup story from a 13-year-old. So now, basically, if the Kid Laroi would like to see the type of success like back when he released F**k Love, he probably needs to work on some more mature projects or go back to what he believed in back in those days. Because if he gets into another relationship and breaks up again and makes an album about it again, and this whole pattern repeats, he'll probably never see the same numbers as when he was at his peak. It's genuinely wild how these artists could have still been at the top if they hadn't messed up so bad. Now, this next artist has done some of the most controversial and craziest things ever. M.I.A. She was a refugee from Sri Lanka, and even at the start of her career, she was not only an artist, but also an activist. For example, on her biggest song, Paper Planes, she talks about immigrants and the whole experience, the hardships, the stereotypes, and all of that. But at the same time, she supports Donald Trump. Anyways, in some of her music videos, there was this motif of a tiger. Now, to a casual viewer, it might be just a tiger. But in reality, this was a shout out to the Tamil separatist terror group, the Tamil Tigers, who have killed thousands of civilians and have used many child soldiers. That's why the Sri Lanka government prohibited playing her songs on the radio. Now, a lot of people didn't catch that, but they did catch what she did when she performed with Madonna on the Super Bowl halftime show. At one point during the show, she gave the camera the middle finger because she had noticed that some men in the music industry had been treating Madonna badly. So she had to react. Obviously, Super Bowl was not happy, so they sued her for $16.6 million. But this was settled out of court. And if you thought what she did up to this point was crazy, wait until you hear what she did next. In 2020, when COVID hit, she said she would choose death over a possible COVID vaccine. And she also believed that 5G towers were making it worse and slowing down the healing process of those infected with COVID. She was, and still is so invested on the idea that 5G could kill you that later on she started manufacturing 5G-proof clothing. And this was the goal of her brand. I'm not gonna waste your time with this, but you can just pause the video and read it for yourself if you're curious. She had also mentioned that she's had a vision of God and she's a true Christian to the point that on her most recent album, she included a track called 30 Minutes of Silence. And that track is exactly what the title promises, 30 minutes of silence. As a reference to the Bible passage, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. That album, let's just say, didn't perform so well. And there's more. So she was recently invited to open for Kid Laroi on his tour, and on this stage she decided to share some political opinions that people didn't quite enjoy.
Can't do illegal. There's some of you could be in the audience.
Now, Kid Laroi eventually fired her after she was booed and was hated by the crowd, saying that he won't have someone on his tour making offensive remarks that upsets his fan base.
Alright, I'm illegal. Half of my team are not here because they didn't get the visa. Okay? I want you to know that. Alright? So don't listen to what the bots say on the internet. Okay? Once you are there, it should be above politics.
Okay, enough of M.I.A. Let's move on to Doja Cat. Everyone was almost 100% sure that Doja Cat was gonna be the biggest female rapper since Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. And for a little while she was. She seemed to be moving in the right direction, hitting all these Billboard records, stacking multiple awards, and she just gave the vibe of a true rapper that would stay in the game and at the top of it in the long run. For a short period after she released Planet Her, she surpassed Drake as the rapper with the most monthly Spotify listeners.
I remember like dropping out and being in my room every day.
Dropping out, what do you mean by that?
In 11th grade.
Really?
And yeah, and I would just be on GarageBand and YouTube. Like I'd be downloading beats from YouTube to GarageBand and making songs out of them.
But the tables turned pretty quickly once she had won all the awards and made all the money. She basically called her audience stupid for listening to her music and tweeted about it saying Planet Her and Hot Pink were cash grabs and y'all fell for it. She basically decided that she didn't want to do pop anymore and agreed that her rap verses were mediocre, but she still wanted to keep doing it because she liked it. And once she saw that people on social media started hating on her, instead of begging them to like her again, she decided to be even more controversial and give people more reason to hate her. She became a new person and she even shaved her head. Thanks to how she's been acting and what she's been saying, people think Doja no longer cares about her fans, or even worse, she never did in the first place. But she thinks it's all a joke.
You'll never see a direct quote of me saying I hate my fans.
Okay.
Not once. But it's a really big misquoted thing where everybody is saying she hates her fans. Never said that.
What's interesting is that she would regret all of her actions quickly when she releases her new album and sees the numbers are not as high as they should have been.
You all right, Doja?
You alright?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Even if she's in her flop era, there's still a chance of revival in her case because her flop is not as bad as the other artists we went through in this video. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe.